Welcome, everyone, to the Winning Together podcast here today with the clinician and the coach. The clinician, Jared, don't mess with me, Casey. And Shay, it's a showdown, Aslet. Great to have you guys on, I was about to say on tap, but I don't know if that would be really the way to say it. Great to have you guys with us tonight. Today, wherever you're listening to right now. Clinician, Jared, what are you seeing in your world? We want to kind of talk a little bit about the arena talk that happened recently, and some of the topics came up there with the art show, which was really dynamite. The kids that did the art from AF high school AP art class was incredible, and that they shared with their experiences and their response to the question, what is the opposite of addiction, was very inspiring.
Yeah, I think, first of all, my intro, I don't want to come off as a prickly pear or a prickly porcupine. But I will hold you to boundaries. So that's where you don't mess with me. I will hold boundaries. I will make sure that you're doing your part and I'm doing my part. Recently we had an awesome arena talks. We had some awesome kids come out, share art on the opposite of addiction. Inspiring, just inspiring. A couple takeaways. One of the students took a survey with all of her classmates, friends. And these days, kids can gather so much information so quickly.
There was over 70 respondents to her survey.
Yeah, 70 respondents to her survey. And she found that almost 80% of her current friend base has struggled with addiction at the young age of 17, 16 years old.
Or is an active addiction.
That's a shocking number that even caught me off guard. I would have anticipated it to be far less. And she took it upon herself to draw the eye of all these different people, and she got so many replies that it took so long. She's spending a couple hours or less on each eye. She only got like 30 of them done, but it was gorgeous and so inspiring. And then the other students, they brought out beautiful insights and thoughts, and just kind of helps you remember that sometimes we're only seeing the world from our own view, and if we just listen, pay attention, there's so much knowledge in this youth and this upcoming generation that if we listen to them, they can really help us learn for seeing them, aware of them. We can see what they need. We can be there for them and support for them.
Here's one truth that I know. If you are a teenager today, you are unique and special, super important, super valuable, and super challenged. And I'm very inspired by you and want to see you succeed.
100%.
So then, that art piece was called "Looking Addiction in the Eye" that you talked about, and some of the takeaways that you'd see is the confronting personal anxiety or OCD behavior, or how mistakes or problems follow you around like your shadow, or how perfectionism can be something that you're getting caught up in and becoming something you're addicted to in the sense that you're using as an unhealthy coping behavior. That you're not getting present to your life because you're so worried about it being perfect, then you can't get fulfilled from doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of those common things that as adults we start to recognize as an adult, anxiety or depression, you can go back a little bit and see some of the roots. If we're really aware of them, these roots are in junior high, high school, sometimes elementary. And all those things you just said are some of those root pieces. And then when we get to being adults, well, we maybe throw some medication at it. Or we don't necessarily go and get good therapy or coaching to work through them. And we become a half-life. We're not quite getting as fulfilled. We may feel like the best of us is in the past. Or we think back to in that time when things were a little less difficult or hard. So just kind of seeing that younger view and seeing like if they can sort it out now, their future could be a lot brighter, and take this as an opportunity to grow instead of letting it root and fester and be toxic in their life.
And that's you've reached the end of the line of the train yard instead of just, you just got to hop on a different train. This is not the end. It's something you will experience and will pass through you unless you decide to hold on to it. And as you're going through your teenage years and young 20s, early 20s, it's meant to experience and grow and move through, not to get stuck on or caught up in or get distracted by.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to be the final say.
Mm-hmm.
So much of that age, from at least what I remember, was this is it. This is all or nothing. This is the time. If I don't do it now, it'll never happen. A lot of this extreme thinking can carry into addiction too. So we see a lot of our clients that pick up addiction in that age, in their teenage life, in the young adulthood, even into 30s and 40s. They still carry that all or nothing mentality, working from that emotional perspective of teenage life. So they still have to go back and readjust and reheal and transform.
And as awesome as it is being a teenager, also that adulting is so much better. It is the best. So don't get caught up with it. Being a teenager is better than being an adult, because it ain't, and it never has been, and it never will be. So also I've learned in my family that all or nothing mentality, that kind of something for nothing, or I want lots of return with little work input, and why shouldn't it, that be the case for me, is generational. So it also could be showing up in your family history, and to become aware of that frees you from some of the consequences of those choices, because they're not yours, they were somebody else's. So it makes it sometimes easier to let go of that all or nothing, something for nothing, black or white, all in or not mentality.
Yeah, and I think there's a communication gap right now from understanding, can I still have my lifestyle the way I want it, and can I have recovery or my goals or my dreams and ambitions? And if you're stuck in that pattern or those things we've been talking about, it's really hard to live both worlds. You still have to be an adult. You still have to do adult things, and you can have fun, and you can have friends, and you can have good relationships. But this communication gap, I'm seeing this right now with one of my clients, really wants to dress like a thug, wants to act like a thug, wants to post Instagram pictures like a thug. And no offense to thugs out there, but if you're in recovery, you can't be a thug. It's not going to work very well for you. But at the same time, we'll show up to treatment and take a lot of notes and do a lot of homework and talk about things that they're doing, how serious they are, but they're not showing up. They're not really showing up in the areas that matter and count, because they're still so hung up on having it both ways. And it's just not how it works. You can't have both. You can have the fun part, but you can't have that lifestyle. So what's worth more to you?
Is cognitive dissonance the term for that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the sacrifice has to happen, no matter what. The opportunity you have is you can choose to pick your damn sacrifice. And putting things like an image or clothing on the chopping block of your sacrifice are as legitimate as anything else. And I think, like you were saying, as important. If your image is one thing, but you're telling yourself you want to be somebody different, when those are not connected, then your expectation and what is reality are going to always be in constant fighting, and you're setting yourself up to go use or go check out or distract, because there's this huge confronting disconnect between that.
Yeah, and if you're the let's just say the enabler, the parent, the spouse, the person who's looking at your son and saying, you know what, here's the credit card, go buy what you want, go get what you want, I'm busy. You're not helping in a useful, productive way. You're feeding into it. I had one father tell me, why would I want my kid to wear anything less than I would wear on myself? He's like, I wear nice clothes, I have nice watches, I drive nice cars. Why would I want him to have less? That's not a problem for me.
So the thinking there is that's progress.
It's progress. It's status. It's growth. My kid looks good. I look good. We feel good. Here's another problem. Maybe you don't have a heroin addiction, but your kid does.
Well, I was going to say, does one of the complaints that come up is that their kid's entitled?
Yeah, they get that side of it too, and then they say, fix my kid's entitlement. And when we put that back and say, stop enabling. Well, why would I change that? It's just this cognitive dissonance in the family members as well, that it sometimes is easier to put money out there and put the presentation of a perfect life, or perfect family, and when problems arise, send them away, or give them money, or Go get fixed and come back. And when you're fixed, you can come back to my life. And I don't mean to put anyone down for doing that.
The way I want you to be, or the way that I expect you to be.
Exactly.
Versus the way they are.
And then, we hear it on the other side where clients are like, well, my loved one will only show up for me in this way. They'll show up for me in money, they'll show me up for in possession and things, but they're not showing up for me in time. They're not showing up for me with emotions. They're not showing up for me in what I truly need.
In empathy.
And sometimes even worse, they show up for me when I'm sick, but as soon as I start to get healthy, they disappear. So then I feel like I have to be sick to get their attention. When it's crisis mode, they're here, but when it's not, everything's good, and they disappear.
In toddlers and young kids, that's called seeking negative attention. It doesn't go away just because somebody gets physically older, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
So there's two things there that come up is, one's the law of the harvest isn't getting taught in the home or in the family or the relationship. Second...
well, there's also the generational gap. And this is a piece of looking at. We've got like we started out with teenage mindsets, young adult mindsets, and then even older mindsets. At least for me, in my life, it's sometimes feels hard for like my parents or say grandparents to hear me, to see me and my needs, and I probably don't hear and see them and their needs very well. And you can cross that line the other direction to teenagers and younger. Are we seeing their needs and they may not be seeing ours? So just understanding that if we start seeing each other, and you even look at the media right now, like the OK Boomer thing that's going on.
The what?
OK Boomers. So you've got these younger 30, 40, 20-year-olds feeling like they're not heard by the baby boomers. And in a way, they're expressing their frustration by dismissing the baby boomers by saying, okay, boomer, like, why don't you go have a seat in your luxury car and your big house and all your nice possessions while I starve because you don't want to give us any social services or help pay for school. So that's, and like I said, all those things are just assumptions, but there's this communication gap going both directions. So the okay boomer and that kind of language just says, I'm just going to dismiss the older generation. They're a lost cause. We're going to do what we do. And I think a lot of that's built because they feel dismissed. They feel unheard. And that happens at a micro level in community and family and especially nationwide right now.
And the perception is that they're soft. The younger generation is soft.
They're soft. They don't know what hard times are. They don't know what it's like to work hard. And I think it's really not like that. I mean, that may be one viewpoint, one perception of some area or demographic. The reality is we're quick to discipline. We're quick to throw money at things, but we're very slow to listen and be present, empathize, and show love.
Be patient.
Put
the problems back on the person. Don't take them on. And when you're giving an example of the adult who's saying, why should my kid have less, we'll talk about kind of material things, is earning it. And if there's not an understanding or a teaching or principle that you've got to earn it, then it's very frustrating for somebody to come to a recovery program and want to do it the way they want to do it and not understand or connect the dots that, no, you have to earn it. And it has to get earned in the way it gets earned. It's not really up to you how it is, because more likely than not, you have to do things that you're not comfortable with, or that you're not good at, or that you're really confronting or ashamed of, etc. But you've got to want to earn it.
Yeah, that principle of something for nothing is that youthful entitlement piece. Interestingly enough, this is a little bit of a tangent. I don't mean to go on a tangent, but I went to this foster care program where they were hiring counselors and therapists to help with foster kids. And when I was there, here comes trumping in like a 7-year-old and an 8-year-old brother, sister. They come in off of a school bus. They walk into this counseling office, and they were like little mini adults. They're, hey, how are you? They shook my hand, looked me in the eye, like little professionals. And they were funny, and they were smart, and they were witty. I'm like, I want to adopt that kid right now. Like, these are the 2 coolest kids I've ever seen. And they had been through hell. And they were refined, and they were strong, and they were resilient, and just presented like really, really sharp people. I don't want my kids to go through hell to be like that. But how do we present challenges with love to help our kids, our family members develop like that? Because for whatever reason, as hellish as their life has been, they seemed, and I'm sure there's a lot I didn't see, like very ahead of their time.
So then let's kind of talk about something that has been coming up that I've seen is for coaching is post-traumatic growth. And what that looks like, that the traumatic experience you're going through, or the hell, or the suffering that's caused by somebody else. It's not even you. It's their choices that are hurting you and you're experiencing the consequences from. What have you seen as a clinician what takes it from post-traumatic growth to post-traumatic, I don't know if broken's not the right word, but post-traumatic, being confronted or stuck or turning out to be sour or cynical or negative? How tell me a little bit about that from a clinician's perspective.
So just kind of understanding what is PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. It's essentially really high stress. It can be different for anybody. So a high stress situation could, whatever that looks like in your life. It doesn't have to be military war or massive car accident or losing a loved one. And it can be much smaller than that. Anything that causes you high stress can cause your short-term memory to kind of
like your daughter or son or spouse using drugs.
Definitely. Those sleepless nights, that constant worry, it puts your body into a state of high anxiety, high stress, hurts your short-term memory. It makes your mind always go. You're not going to sleep very well.
Yeah, you're looking for the danger always.
Always an alert. It's in the real. It's in the live. Now, some people's high stress moments dissipate fairly naturally with time. They live their life. They do healthy things. They go into routines, and it can kind of break down and soften on its own. Now, others of us need a little support, or else we do stay stuck in that sour, or we stay stuck in that bitter, or we stay stuck in that pain and suffering, and we can't get to growth. We have those blocks in us. When we start processing our pain or our struggles, we go through a process of grieving and to a degree, and then a process of acceptance. So acceptance allows us to grow. It allows our short-term memory to let things go into long-term memory, and it allows us to start processing again. And then that growth, it can start to be something of your benefit. And for us, I see it a lot in work is, can we help someone shift their perspective? As soon as that perspective starts to shift, and I have an example from yesterday. I had a client talking about how his general worldview is very negative. He can take a positive and flip it to a negative really quick, and he feeds it with a lot of anger. And then under that anger, there's a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and self-doubt. So we worked on, would you be willing to accept a different viewpoint of success, of what recovery looks like? And his answer was, well, I'm here, so I'm cautiously optimistic. And then we let the group share what their version of success is. And at the root, a lot of it was self-love, being comfortable in your own skin, being okay with who you are, which all these things kind of made him shriek. Ooh, tighten up. Oh, and he starts wrapping his arms around his chest, starts pulling his legs up, starts looking down, trying to tuck his hat over his eyes.
Wow.
Just quite literally hearing that was like, oh. Painful. You mean I have to love me? I have to like me? I have to be willing to do those things? Yes, you do. And in that shift of perspective, he started to loosen up. Hearing people relate to him that are going through what he's going through in a very real way. Someone who's a few months ahead of him. Someone who's a few weeks ahead of him. Someone who's a little bit further behind him. Just feeling it, connecting to it, opened him up. His arms kind of opened up. His legs kind of opened up. He relaxed. He breathed a little deeper. And that perspective started to shift.
It's the acknowledgement that it's possible that things can be different is where things have to start. You have to decide that it's possible that I can have a different experience, that the relationship can change, that I can get through this traumatic experience, that this stress can turn my suffering into, and struggle into a message or into a song or into strength going forward. That's where it always starts.
Absolutely.
That's a big deal.
It's huge, and you have to give yourself time. It's that law of the harvest that you're talking about. So 5 minutes after a group ends, we just had this powerful shift. We hear him saying, yes, I'm willing to accept some differences. I'm willing to look at change. I hear him on the couch talking to another client. This other client's complaining about something really simple. And he goes to the rally call. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, of course you should be mad. I'd be furious. Instantly pulled back into the old pattern. 5 minutes removed from a very powerful experience with other human beings, those old patterns are so rooted that it's so much more comfortable. Like that warm blanket you talk about, it's more comfortable to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's more comfortable to be in this pain and sit there than it is to be vulnerable, raw, accepting.
It's a somewhat culturally acceptable, understandable way to be in control and be powerful is to be angry or rage or negative. You have some semblance of control there in the moment or the time, but you have to recreate that and become more angry or feed that somehow. I think also it's important to acknowledge too that if a loved one of yours is struggling in kind of shifting their perspective or going through the trauma and turning it into something that stress allows them to grow or move forward, is there are different brain types. And different brain types sometimes need different ways to shift. It could be counseling, or it could be a combination of counseling and exercise, or counseling, exercise, and worship, or connected with spiritually, or it could be, yoga, or it could be CrossFit, or it could be meditation, or it could be more time in nature. So allowing that, part of this could be just their chemistry is what's getting them stuck, not them as a person being not adequate or not capable or not, good or bad or anything like that. I think that's important to understand too.
Yeah, it's incredibly important to understand. And kind of going back to the same client, he had all the right answers. He says, I know I should be practicing gratitude. I know I should be journaling. I know I should be doing meditation, but boo-hoo, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
My mindset right now is so comfortable not doing those things. I'm not going to buy into them. I'm not going to put energy into them because guess what? My life is already crap. I've already passed all my good times. I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm trying. And you hit that wall. You have to kind of start thinking and helping this person see, is that serving you anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Quite literally, how is that serving you? How is that working out? Or is the payoff really good? Is this what you would like, or could you desire something a little different? If you had a little something different, what would it look like? Could you creep the door open, leave it open just a little while, and then maybe open a little more? So that shift in perspective is so subtle. However, if someone sticks with it long enough, they will start to reap the rewards. They'll start to taste of the fruit of the harvest. They'll start to pay attention, and they'll start to feel the love of others who have been through it. And it's interesting because I personally connected very quickly to this client. I have a lot of similarities. I've had a lot of anger in my life. It's almost like an old friend. You could just, oh yeah, hey buddy. And he showed anger towards me, and I'm like, hey, yeah, it's been a while.
I see you.
And we were on the same page almost instantly. And that's the beauty of a group, is there's half a dozen people or more who are on the same page.
I think that was one of the most special things I've seen at the arena talks we've done is having families and loved ones of people who are experiencing recovery right now and have them be able to share and to share in that experience, that common struggle and suffering and pain and hurt and trauma and hope and willingness and enthusiasm and effort to experience and create something different, because you've got to believe that it's possible and create something that doesn't exist in your head, that it can be this way, and then life will conspire to help you out. You will find the people, you will connect with the resources, you will hear meditation on the radio, and your friend will tell you about meditation, and then some internet ad will say you need to meditate, and that's the way it starts happening. Like, oh, maybe meditation is something I really need to do it, and you let go of overthinking. You're just like, okay, I'll do it, and I'll move forward. And you know that movie Tombstone, where Doc Holliday, he's like, I'm your huckleberry. So alcohol will always be your huckleberry if you want to practice anger. But when you're ready to say, no, alcohol is not my friend anymore, and I have to have friends, so what's that going to look like? That helps you make that shift and crack that door open and say, okay, my life's not workable like this anymore, and I accept that. And I'm determined and I'm willing to let that go for who knows what's forward, but I will move in that way.
Absolutely.
Love it. Jared, don't mess with me, Casey.
Hold boundaries with you, man.
Grapple with the bear.
Hold boundaries with you, Casey.
Your territory. Yeah, I love it. And Shay, it's super good to have you guys as the clinician, the coach, wrapping up another podcast here. We win together. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.